Pearl, subtitled An Extraordinary Origin Story, is a 2022 American slasher film directed by T. West. Co-written by West and Mia Goth, who reprises her role as the title character, and featuring David Corenswet, Tandi Wright, Matthew Sunderland, and Emma Jenkins Purro in supporting roles. A prequel to X, 2022. And the second installment in the X film series, it serves as an origin story for the title villain, whose fervent aspiration to become a movie star led her to committing violent acts on her family's Texas homestead in 1918. Pearl had its world premiere at the 79th Venice International Film Festival on September 3, 2022, and was released in theaters in the United States on September 16, 2022, by A24. The film grossed over $10 million and received positive reviews from critics, who lauded Goth's performance, West's screenplay and direction, and its homages to the films of the golden age of Hollywood, particularly The Wizard of Oz, 1939, and Mary Poppins, 1964. Another film in the series, a sequel to X titled Ma Xxina, is currently in development. Mia Goth as Pearl, David Corenswet as the projectionist, Tandi Wright as Ruth, Matthew Sunderland as Pearl's father, Emma Jenkins Purro as Mitzi, Alastair Sewell as Howard. Feeling lonely while living on her parents' farm, Pearl felt that she could not pursue her dream of becoming a dancer, although she really wanted to be one of the American entertainers at the time. Feeling depressed, Pearl is determined to kill everyone who stands in her way, including her parents. Pearl is a killer thriller film by T. West released by A24 on September 16, 2022. A prequel to the X movie, 2022, this film tells the origin story of Pearl before she became a brutal killer. Through this film, we understand the cause of his psychosis, so he is determined to commit murder for the first time. Appearing as classics of the 1930s, Pearl is one of the best horror movies of 2022. How good is the quality of this movie? Check out the following review to get the full review. In 1918, during the influenza pandemic, Pearl is a young woman living with her German immigrant parents on their Texas homestead while her husband, Howard, serves in World War I. Pearl's father is infirm and paralyzed, and her domineering mother, Ruth, insists that she help care for both him and the farm. Pearl, longing for a more exciting life, is captivated by the films she sees at the local cinema and aspires to become a chorus girl, much to Ruth's disapproval. However, Pearl also shows signs of being a disturbed individual. For example, she kills farm animals and physically abuses her father. At the movie theater, Pearl meets a young projectionist who takes a liking to her. While riding her bicycle home, Pearl stops along a cornfield and begins dancing with a scarecrow, fantasizing about the projectionist, and masturbates with it. When her mother realizes that 8 cents are missing from an errand Pearl did, Pearl is berated about being careless and has her supper withheld. Pearl's affluent sister-in-law, Mitzi, tells her of an audition being held to find new dancers for a traveling troupe, which Pearl envisions as a way out of her circumstance. She later sneaks out of the house at night and visits the projectionist, who shows her a free ride, an illicit stag film he acquired in France. He encourages Pearl to pursue her dreams. Pearl comments that she cannot abandon her family, and that she wishes they would just die. When Ruth finds a program Pearl took from the movie theater, the two get into a fierce argument over dinner. A physical altercation erupts, during which Pearl shoves her mother against the kitchen hearth, igniting her dress and resulting in Ruth suffering life-threatening burns. Pearl drags Ruth into the basement and leaves her father seated in the kitchen. She flees to the movie theater, where she has sex with the projectionist. In the morning, the projectionist drives Pearl back to the farm so she can prepare for the audition. He is perturbed by a now maggot-infested, roasted pig Mitzi's mother left for Ruth the day prior, and by inconsistencies Pearl has told him, as well as by her theatrical behavior. When he attempts to leave, Pearl flies into a fit of rage at his abandonment of her, and stabs him to death with a pitchfork before pushing his car, with his corpse in it, into a pond where an alligator she has nicknamed Theta eats his remains. Pearl dresses herself in one of Ruth's lavish gowns and dresses up her father before smothering him to death. Pearl arrives at the church where the audition is being held. She gives a dance performance she feels will win over the talent scouts, but is devastated when she is rejected for not being young, blonde, or all-American. Mitzi accompanies her home in an attempt to console her. Into a pond where an alligator she has nicknamed Theta eats his remains. Pearl dresses herself in one of Ruth's lavish gowns and dresses up her father before smothering him to death. Pearl arrives at the church where the audition is being held. She gives a dance performance she feels will win over the talent scouts, but is devastated when she is rejected for not being young, blonde, or all-American. Mitzi accompanies her home in an attempt to console her. Into a pond where an alligator she has nicknamed Theta eats his remains. Pearl dresses herself in one of Ruth's lavish gowns and dresses up her father before smothering him to death. Pearl arrives at the church where the audition is being held. She gives a dance performance she feels will win over the talent scouts, but is devastated when she is rejected for not being young, blonde, or all-American. Mitzi accompanies her home in an attempt to console her. Into a pond where an alligator she has nicknamed Theta eats his remains. Pearl dresses herself in one of Ruth's lavish gowns and dresses up her father before smothering him to death. Pearl arrives at the church where the audition is being held. She gives a dance performance she feels will win over the talent scouts, but is devastated when she is rejected for not being young, blonde, or all-American. Mitzi accompanies her home in an attempt to console her. Pearl has succeeded in proving T. West's prowess as a filmmaker specializing in the horror genre. And this best achievement is just the beginning for the horror series that is under construction. His collaboration with Mia Goth, to best represent Pearl's sadism, promises that the character will become a horror icon in modern cinema. With a good plot and skillful depiction of the causes of emotional trauma, the character Pearl appears more convincing than predecessor horror icons such as Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers, and Leatherface. If this brand is continued while maintaining the existing quality, it is not difficult for Pearl to become a legendary horror icon. One of the best movies of 2022, even it has been reported that Mia Goth has a great chance to enter the Oscar market. You really have to see this movie. For connoisseurs of murder thrillers, you will fail if you don't watch this movie. Have fun watching.